Hello, everybody. Come on in if you can. No, that's not a typo. Yep, I have these things. Hello, everybody. Come on in if you can. No, that's not a typo. Yep, I have these things. Hello, everybody. We got my echo. Shows me how much the delay is. I am talking to myself and I really like it. Uh, oh my goodness. I'm sorry about that. I was so technologically challenged. Oh, Lord. Okay. So anyway, there are so many. I'm getting all these things. Okay. So if you remember back in the Watts world, because I'm going down the Watts world, well, what do we call it? Call it hellhole? Okay. First of all, I'm going to cover everything because I want to tell you why. We're going to do this under fair use. And with the Fair Use Act and disclaimer in Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use. Fair use usually uses the four-factor balancing act test. And it says that only a small portion of the original material must be used. And that the new work is for critique, satire, or education. And that the commercial value of the original content is not diminished. And that the creator's new work is predominantly original product of the user they're taking that work from. Now, when I sourced that part of the fair use, I sourced it from Emerging EdTech and from Termly. I like that definition of fair use best. I feel when you see that, when you're inspired by a creator's work, if you review that work, you're honoring that creator and talking about how their work, inspires you to do this and to talk about this. It's the long ago and far away in the Watts world where I was stuck. Before I even went on panels, I had heard from the creator, It's Me, Kimberly. Do you guys love yourselves some It's Me, Kimberly? I think It's Me, Kimberly has like the best sense of humor, where she's just full of just dry humor and satire. And she doesn't have to repeat it. You just have to catch it. And she's just hilarious. So even when she's calling Chris Watts the 20-word, basically diatribe of what she thinks of him, you don't hear it as all of the naughty words that are there. You just hear it as this big one kind of one big description of how she feels about Chris Watts, right? So then, of course, people would think that I wouldn't like It's Me, Kimberly, because obviously her and I feel differently on the surface. But no, it's not like that at all. Y'all know that I just like to pick a topic and kind of figure out people's different perspectives and how they feel that way or where they got that. I don't like to just see things on the surface and, you know, uh listen to how somebody else came up about that. I want to know how they got there. I I don't know. I guess that's just me. So anywho, I started getting these emails the other day and it was like, Debbie, did you see that there's a new book about Watts? And I'm like, what? I didn't even know anybody was creating one. I guess that I'm just so stuck down here in this other hellhole that I can't even see the light. I didn't know that anybody was even doing that. I'm like, kudos for them. They they are doing this without, getting any of the hate from either side or involving either side of the family. They just went and they did their work and it's out there. I'm like, right on. But then in the same thing, I'm like, well, they didn't have a media tour or anything. Like we all know that Sherlyn Cadle did. Well, turns out the book they're talking about is that book or book report. Okay. When she first came onto the scene, she had a problem, it is rumored, with using others' information that may or may not have been hers, which she was then accused of plagiarism. Her own writing skills lacked, and so there was a problem with editing. Nonetheless, while the whole world was looking at, the bright, alluring narrative of what sold headlines, what sold magazines, Sherlyn went kind of under the radar and went directly to Chris's parents and ultimately Chris himself behind bars. But it seemed like she had her own idea of what she felt had happened, and she was going to shape the content of that book around what she felt rather than what a good and talented author can do in putting their subject up on the platform and making the story about them, the the subject, not themselves as the writer. And in so doing, I felt that she lost a great opportunity because when I reviewed her interview with Chris, I heard a lot of different things that went right over her head. And Chris has really grabbed onto the Lord for comfort, as we all know that. As such, he talks pretty much in biblical code. So when he was referring to his wife as Gomer, if you research Gomer in the Bible, you would understand what Chris was trying to say. He was trying to throw her a bone and say that, she was Gomer. She's Gomer. Whereas Sherlyn's like, so why'd you do it? Well, and really taking that, she kind of took that school marm approach with him. She involved his parents, and his parents, like many, believe that there is a place for their story to be told, that it can't get much worse for Watts than it is. So why hasn't he had his voice be heard in court? And I feel that looking at the time frame and when that happened, that's what they were hoping for. That's probably what Chris was hoping for, but he just he's very well, okay. In the Catholic religion, and maybe greater than the Catholic religion, I don't know. I can only speak to what the way that I was raised, by birth, baptized into the Catholic religion. Then later in my teenage years, I was an acolyte in the Episcopalian church. So that well, actually right behind, and I'm right there. supporting the Father and everything that he does. And um, so, what I can tell you is when somebody makes too big of a mistake in the Catholic religion, we'll say, they do all that they can to help. But at the bottom line, and they can't help and they see it again, they're going to go to demon possession. Now, the problem with that is that they had to kind of limit how many times they were doing exorcisms. And I think you can only get them done at the actual Vatican. And the last I heard, I thought the limit was 200 a year that they can do. I think they can only do 200 exorcisms a year. So when it becomes an accepted excuse that when you just keep messing up, it's it's a damn demon. It's a demon again, and you can't freaking get airfare to the Vatican, and with only 200 spaces for them to get rid of 200 demons a year. It may only be 100. I can't remember if it's 100, 200. Last time I checked. They can only get rid of so many demons in a year. So you could be on the wait list forever to get the demon out of you. And that becomes this accepted thing. Unfortunately, in a city very near me, that's going on where they feel that a demon has gotten loose in our community. And so when a couple of people have caused too much disruption in the church, and the church people are fighting, and they have to go to different cities to go to different churches because that damn demon is loose in the church and it escaped into the community and it's in people's homes now. And so they're trying to do some, kind of DIY exorcisms, whatever. Then don't get me started on that. Same thing is going on with Watts in his probable brain to try to get him to make sense of what he did, and to where he really claims and believes that he was not himself, that in fact a demon was taking over. As you all know, I went deep and found out that no, it was just all of the MLM stuff that his wife was giving him in double and triplicate form, that they changed the formulary after what he did. And we will never probably know all of what was in his system because may or may not be certain litigation behind that. So he was being given something that was making him not sleep for extended periods of time. When you don't sleep for extended periods of time and you have stress and you find out that you're going to be losing your house, that even though you were going to work and you were making the money, that the person you gave the money to make the house payment had not been making the house payment, that in fact they were using that money to buy airfare to go on trips with another person who they may or may not have been blanking, and leaving you home with that. And I think that the word snapped is an understatement with what happened to the Watts, but I think that in him trying to put one foot in front of the other and remember to breathe in and out, he had to go to the Bible. He needed to go to the Bible for comfort. And I know that I can be jumped on for saying, even comfort. Of course, there's not anything I can say right in this, but the bottom line is that when somebody comes to interview him, which he will not take interviews, mostly he will not. He will not talk to anybody. He doesn't trust anybody, especially with what happened after Sherlyn. He was open to being heard, and she came to him like a mother figure that could access him, and he wanted to be heard, but he can't just come right out and say this and this happened, or else that becomes a twisted headline. So he speaks in biblical code. Again, Sherlyn did not listen. She did not get it. She went in there with her things where she wanted to ask questions, and he was going to answer them right, and she was going to go down her little list and put the check marks right where they belonged, and then she'd go on her media tour and went along with Dr. Oz. And if you know what I'm talking about, she probably told Dr. Oz if she got the S or not. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Her Dr. Oz was, did you get the S? Yes, I got the yes today. If you know, you know. So anyway, this new book is just that Sherilyn's book finally, like some Christmas miracle, made it out of editing and legal and everything else after how many years now? That's the new book. It's not a new book, it's that it was held up. So, nonetheless, as I did my Watts content, I'm getting, my friends saying, "Did you know there was this new book? Did you know there was this new book?" And like I said, I was like, "What? What?" So then finding out it's just Sherlyn again, being Sherlyn. Um, Coincidentally, I was watching the videos that Plunder was doing on Kim Zolciak. And if you don't know Plunder, please introduce yourself to Paula Mooney. She's so cool. She's consistently been one of the best creators I feel in obtaining good and solid information that stands the test of, I don't want to say time necessarily, but she's very Christian centered herself. And when she was bringing the Watts material, because to me, if somebody says, "Oh, here, this person did this, cast the first stone, here's your stone, go throw it," I want to be like, that stone's gonna hurt somebody. I don't want a stone thrown at myself. So how about if I stop you from throwing the stone by finding out why you want to do this? And maybe we can all come to a better solution so that person over there, sitting there, could maybe be heard, and no one needs to throw any stones. We can see what's going on here, who's saying what. Because quite honestly, if it's the truth can withstand questions, and the truth can withstand scrutiny, and the truth can be left in the dark, but when it's brought to the light, it can be dusted off and it can shine. That's what Plunder does. So when Plunder would come with the legal documents and whatnot, quite exclusive. She was most of your content that you see around Watts and other things. If you shake it down and you try to go to the genesis of where it came from Plunder. So she was getting a lot of hate because they're like, "Well, how do you know? Who are you? Who are you?" And she speaks in a way in which you can tell she's reading what she writes. So what happened to her when YouTube went through some big growing pains, what, a year ago? A lot of channels got thwarted. What YouTube tried to get rid of was essentially creators that were not creating their own content. That if creators were sitting there just reporting on what the news was reporting, then they didn't want that because then they weren't creating those stories. They weren't out there watching this transpire. So they didn't want, somebody just essentially recapping the news. And another creator got in trouble for that. I can't remember his name, but a lot of people like him, and he really was just sitting there with the news thing. But he was talking about how the news then affects things and stuff, so he got his channel back. Plunder got her channel back because she was able to show how she came up with the information that she was sharing, how she then made it her own creation, and how she herself was the one doing the work. She had to go and show. So when I did that video showing how I keep every scrap of paper that I doodle on, every little calendar, everything on when I do anything for my channel and keep a track of what date I do what and um where I got this information, et cetera, et cetera. And then every so often, I'll put it, into a box and then have that dated and then put that, into the closet and that. So then if anything ever comes, and it's like, okay, well, how did you come about that? Well, I came about that by this. She had to do the same thing. So I've always done that in things that I do, whether, it's about a dental bill or whatever, it's like, okay, I paid this and then on this, or I talked to the bill collector on this day, did little doodles, right? Well, that's kind of just the way my style. So when I saw this happening here, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So based on what happened to Paula, I was very, very much more careful to do that than I probably would have been to begin with. So when her channel got down, I felt so bad. And I don't fundamentally feel like anybody's channel should be taken down that is working to create their own material in the way that YouTube has their terms of service set. You read the terms of service, there's none of us who should have a channel that we're breaking the terms of service in anything we do, and especially with the way they went through and changed a lot of stuff. So as long as somebody's out there, and they're wanting to show how they come about this and stuff and how they got the story, let them have their voice. That's what this is for. So I was so sad when Plunder had lost her channel. I'm glad that she went through the appeal process. When your channel is struck down, you have to go through a very specific process. And then, it's kind of like, you know, wiring something, and the right wires have to go into the right wiring thing, or the square peg has to go into the square hole or the round hole. If you put in the round hole, that's how you get a problem. That's what has to happen for you to be able to get your channel back. And well, my experiences was that I did not break terms of service as I was falsely accused of, and so I got my channel back. And obviously, Plunder was able to do the same. So when Plunder did that, she came back rebranded. She shows her beautiful self. She sits there and she has a picture of our heavenly Father right next to her. And what she does is Christ centered. She is very, very religious, and she starts with a prayer proverb, and I appreciate that. So she now came out with her own name as Paula, and she's got great content because of the harassment that we as creators get. Our choices become down to putting your stuff behind a paywall. And that's where, when they talk about a paywall, that's what they're talking about. So you either put your content on Patreon, or you put it behind so you can only see it if you have a membership, things like that. I don't like to, because I'm a person who does not have a lot of money. And so it's important to me that YouTube remains free, as I have very much enjoyed in the past few years watching YouTube. I guess what, 2 years? 2 years was when I started watching YouTube. I think 2 years. So I feel like there are people out there who really need and want it to be free as well. And that's why I've talked about when you see the commercials and they suck and they're in the middle of everything, I'm sorry. But that's the way that we're supposed to make our money is that there's commercials. And I hate listening to them too, but I know that, when in so doing them, that's the way that I'm supporting that creator. And you don't make a lot of money on the AdSense. You need to get those views so that you can do that. So that's how we're supposed to do it. And so Plunder came out with a review of Sherlyn's book, and I didn't think it was anything big. I was watching her coverage of something else, and then I saw that, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's what they're talking about. The new book. This is what you're talking about." So if you come over here and you go to Plunder's page and you go to her community post, this is what you're gonna see, and you're gonna freaking laugh. You know how this came from because here it is. Ready? Bombshell tonight. Bombshell tonight. Here we go. Look at how and yeah. Look at it. Sherlyn Cadle. Take this free fragging video down. I mean, she's articulate if nothing else. This is the quality of Sherlyn Cadle's writing. Take this fragging video down. Um, it's supposed to be in all caps because maybe she's angry typing. But even the little I couldn't get capitalized and the friggin' couldn't be spelled right. This is why it took years for Sherlyn's book report to be completed. I know that those of you who know and you're watching this are cracking up looking at this. Take this friggin' video down. When I saw this, I was like, no, 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 no. She did not. She did. Okay, so here we go here. So here Paula, sweet as can be, sitting there. And she gets this message apparently. And I'm glad that she's posted this, but she's had to now put the other things behind a paywall. So before anything else gets all put behind paywalls, I wanted you guys to see this. So it's from Sherlyn Cradle Crap. And let's see here. Okay, so then it goes. She says, let's see, did she put this in order now? Okay, so right, let me see if I can find this in the way that I'm not going to mess this up. So, I don't know if this is going to I don't want to mess this up. I might have it here so I can read it better. Not a good look. Let's see here. So the way that it goes here, so she's like, take this fragging video down. And then it says basically, she says, my sales have not okay. My tongue is completely twisted. Says, my sales have not risen because of the video. I'm directly connected with, I can't read it right now, to see exactly what my sales are. I need you to pray about how this feels to me. My hard work. I have paid thousands. I have trailers and marketing paid, and now what has been revealed leaves nothing for the reader to want to buy the book for. Period. I've calmed down. I've listened to the video. You are wrong for what you've done to me. You've used me to create a large audience for money and to excel you in the YouTube community. It's not godly, and you can try to reason it out in your own mind, but it's very wrong. Okay, so what you see here is that when she first went for Paula, somebody probably calmed her down and said, hey, you need to be more specific in this and that. You need to come from here. So Sherlyn was like, okay, can you do that? Just send that to me in an email, and then I'll put a couple words on the end, because that's what she does. She doesn't know how to end a sentence or start a sentence. I can show you this, or you guys can cop over to Paula's community thing and see it too. But I'm just trying to read this because, I'll screw something up and I'll end up going off this whole page because I don't know how to do things. I'm old. So, next thing says, so Sherlyn says, my husband and I sat and listened to your entire video again. You didn't just give a review of the book. Question mark. You pulled all of the reveals that I advertised. You stole my work, period. How does someone do this, period? 7 sentences in a book I paid dearly, period. Not only, space, monetarily, but my reputation, comma. If you think I'm going to just let this go, you need to think again, exclamation point. You stole my work, space, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Space. This is copyright infringement. Verbal plagiarism. You also discouraged people from buying my book. No period. Next sentence. I am going to sue you. Period. My husband agrees. Okay. And then she says, you used me to make money to get views. Okay. And then she put a thing in there where it was showing something. I don't know this. It's a graph, and I'm from a small town and whatever. So anyway, there was more where I could see, and so I'm just basically from what I can see here is that then where Paula comes up here, because she had to put everything else behind the paywall. Oh Lord, I hope I didn't just mess something else. Let me see. So let me see if we can go here. See, she had to put everything she did behind this paywall to get members only in there. And Paula's not a person who starts out like that. She like I say, when stuff starts to go down, then the quick thing is where people are like, well, just put it behind a paywall. Just put it behind the paywall. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that because, like I say, I don't have money. So I just feel like maybe there's other people out there that, want to see things without, let's see here. Go back to her community. I knew if I did just one little thing right. Here we go. Because if we do this, it's just not. Let me see. There we go. Maybe that's going to do it. So I'll read more. So what we have here, my friends, Sherlyn will put me on her gonna sue list, and that's fine. I'm already on everybody's else's list. Okay. And so she wrote, take this fragging video down. And then Paula says, due to the threats and unhinged behavior, this author is displaying over my legal review of her books. And that's the video that she did. And the title of the book here is Many Feces of Chris Watts, The Truth and the Theories, Kindle edition. God. Here I go. Oh. A little late for that. I'm getting a VP. Okay, let me see. Um, so then she writes in here because when did they first try and get? Because her first run of it, how many years ago was that? And then I don't know how it became to be that it was no longer. Uh, well, let's just say that it had to be revised. That's the ticket. And so Paula writes, I've had to change my book review that was published just after midnight on November 22nd, 2023, from public to members only, so I can save it as evidence to prove to any court in the land that I used approximately fewer than 7% of the work to create a legitimate and honest review of the creation. And that's the truth in how Paula does that. And that's how like I try to do my things where I take that inspiration and then explain how it's mine, how it makes me think of things in this way. I think that the old expression of branching out, if you look at us like trees and we're standing here and as you learn things, you branch out. As you talk to others, your branches grow leaves. And you keep the branches, but you lose the leaves because then you are more strong by the knowledge that you have learned yourself. I was an early tree hugger. I probably like in 5th grade when I started trying to save trees from being cut down, and no one understood me, but now it's kind of a thing. So just kind of like that, like branch out, like bring something to others that's important to you so that then they can learn as well. Paula does that. And in my fair use where I started today, that's the way that I thought that you're supposed to do it. Is that, you see this and then you take that nugget and then you build around it. And so I don't think that Paula did anything wrong. And so I don't know if we can see the comments or if Plunder had to pull him, where basically Sherlyn tried to use Paula's Christianity against her, saying that essentially she was not Christ-like for what she did to Sherlyn. Now, let's bring this home and say, Sherlyn, when Watts was talking to you in biblical code saying that his wife was Gomer, you didn't catch it. So before you try to manipulate the word of Christ, be very careful because you missed everything that was being told to you. And I'll do y'all one better. I'll link my um video that I must have done, I guess maybe a year ago, where I tapped into my biblical side and did the Reverend Tabitha reading, where I explained more about what I feel that Chris was trying to convey in his code. And I'll put that on my community post later because I think that it's interesting and I think it sheds some light on what may or may not have been going on in that house. And so as Paula says, because and this is important to me too, because where I say that, I have over 400 videos and I try to only make one topic be in that 10 to 15% range. In that 10 to 15% of that, I try to make a significant part of that percentage my original creation. So It's this that I have there, and then it's built around how it's my creation. So, if I get audited by the Big Daddy Facebook YouTube, metadata is metadata, do they own that, or is metadata Facebook? I don't know. Right when I started all of this, my Instagram and email were hacked, so had to look into who has what to try to get what back and never did, but anywho, I think Paula is right. From what I've seen of Paula and the way that she does her work with great intention, that if Sherilyn wants to go to court with Plunder, she's going to continue to show why she tried to, in my opinion, exploit Watts in the way that I feel that she did. It is in my opinion that when Sherilyn went to Mr. and Mrs. Watts, Papa Ronnie, it is my feeling that she hurt them more than she comforted them. That she came to them and got their hopes up that maybe somebody was going to tell their side. Not that it's a defensible side, but it's their side nonetheless, and people deserve to be heard. When Sherilyn wasn't getting what she wanted from them, she dumped them. Why should Sherilyn then profit in that way? She went and did these things and did not bring the story home. She did not talent, she's not with talent, integrity, and articulation bring the story there. That when she was on her media tour with Dr. Oz and everybody else, she had a great opportunity to shed light. Now, was she threatened by the powers that be to not say this, not say that? I don't know, because you never know who is behind the scenes. And maybe her book label said, do not say this, do not say this, do not say this. And by the time she got on the stage, she was like, well, I can talk about strawberry jam today. Do you like it on your toast? And there you go. Could be. You don't know. So she says, Paula says that she used fewer than 7% of the or less of the work to create a legitimate and honest review of the creation. Simply because she told her viewers how she really felt about the book and pointed out a couple of contradictions that this author is continually sending me rude threats and trying to bully me into removing my honest review. And that's the thing, and that's where I feel that when Paula Plunder is talking about whatever subject she covers, she does it like that, in that she says how you're supposed to, that here's my interpretation of this, here's what I know of the truth, and here's how this fact doesn't fit into that fact. And when we take those factors, this is the result by the deduction of reasoning, and here you go. I think that there could have been more energy, like the energy that I got this week, where it was like, "Hey, there's a new book. You've got to go see it. There's a new book. Can you review it?" And then I see it's her, and I'm like, "Oh God, no! No, I've already nope, nope, no," because we all had to look at the mess that Sherilyn brought to this whole shitstorm that is the Watts, and made it worse. And so most of the creators that I know of that were in in the position where we were looking at things on the global spectrum of saying who's who has their own agenda in this, who has a narrative, and what are the facts and the truth, that by the time we did that to Sherilyn's book report, we were all just shaking our heads because she did not. I'd love to have had the opportunity that she did to have an interview with Watts. She had a great opportunity. I don't know that he'll ever grant anybody another opportunity like he did with her. I think that he's had his words twisted so many times that he's hurt. Now, of course, somebody's gonna jump on that. Oh, so what if he's hurt? I understand that. But we live in a more civilized society where we try to find out what went wrong, especially when there's a loss of life, and extremely when there's a loss of life of innocent children. You try to find out what happened so that it never happens again, so that their lives were not lost in vain. And Shanann did not deserve to lose her life at all. I'm not saying that. I am saying that there were a lot of adults playing some really dirty games that involved their children at the end, and their children paid the ultimate price. And I know that people will say that Watts is in prison for the rest of his life and he already had a trial and all this stuff. No, 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 no. Nope. He took a shitty deal. That's what he did. Because some other things were omitted. Those of you that know. Those of you that are wondering, check out my playlist. There's other great creators that are worth watching as well. And Plunder's one of the many. And when she's saying that about the contradiction, she says, this author is continually sending me rude threats and trying to bully me into removing my honest review. That's a terrible position for Plunder to be in. And I'm so sorry that you are being put in that position, Paula. Paula goes on to say, if I would have lied to my viewers and offered effusive praise, I'm sure these threats would not have happened. However, I never discouraged my viewers from purchasing the books, and on the contrary, I prominently published links to the books in my video, which gained 54,000 viewers at last count, greatly expanding this author's potential readers, since many people had no idea Cadle had written another book. Okay, so now this right here puts it in another level because I was assuming it was her original work that had just now been published. But now that Paula says it's another book, I'm going, oh no, what happened to the other one? And this is where I hadn't heard it until it was brought to me. And the only way it was brought to me is by Plunder. So, from my personal perspective, I feel that sometimes with situations such as these, it does promote the sales of the new book. That people hearing the word new will think that there's new information. And as we were seeing, oh my gosh, I guess a lot of you have, let me know that, hey, this is going on. And, as I was deeply embroiled in another project, I would check out this and check out that. And I was like, oh, it's not exactly new. It's just something else that somebody just barfed up. I don't see it as new. I was kind of waiting to see if there was anything. So perhaps there were a couple of new things put in her book, and perhaps her people, person writing the marketing for her book put out little tiny sparks out in Watt's world? Maybe. And so then she says, as I did in the book review, I still encourage you to buy the books for yourself. See, she says books. So there you go. It's showing that Sherlyn has yet another creation. So even in so doing this with the controversy, Plunder is doing Sherlyn a favor in the grand scheme of things, because I had not heard anywhere that this was a new thing. It was only when Plunder put it out there that I started getting things from my friends to check it out. She says, I still encourage you to buy the books for yourselves and read the whole thing and form your own opinions, because there's so much information I did not put in my video. And this is because if you know Paula and you know Plunder, you know the way that she does things. She's not going to do that to somebody, Christian or not. She is not going to go out there and ruin somebody else's whole story or content because she doesn't want to lose what she's worked for. She's worked to be in the position that she is by earning the respect of those that tried to pull her down. There are people in this world that try to get taller by stepping on other people's necks. And Paula got stepped on, pulled down. She gathered her stuff up, brushed herself up, and off. Took on YouTube as it needed to be, made the changes that they requested to be right in line with their terms of service, made the uncomfortable step to put herself in front of the camera and rebrand herself in the way that YouTube understands it's a symbiotic partnership in which they both benefit. She further says, I have never been rude or unkind to this woman and have always sought to treat her with the utmost respect. That is true. We can all see that. We can all say that as character witnesses that Paula is fair. She does not impart her own opinion or viewpoint. You don't know where um she personally feels on things, because she's a talented creator in that does not need to divulge that she knows the story isn't about her, and if she went to the grocery store that day, she's presenting this, and she's a good creator that has a foundation that does this. She further says, I have evidence from my Amazon account showing the hundreds of clicks from my links directly to the books on Amazon, showing the amount of potential hardcover buyers sent to Cadle's books on Amazon. See attached photo. The purchase of Kindle editions works differently via Amazon on certain mobile devices. And then she puts in quotations, book reviews are protected by copyright law. Reviews, commentary, and criticism are highly protected. The bar for infringement is generally higher than distribution. The types of uses that can qualify as fair use are, for example, quoting or excerpting a work in a review for purposes of illustration or comment would normally be fair use. A book reviewer would normally be permitted to quote limited passages from a book in a newspaper column as part of a critique of the book. And as she does wonderfully, she inserts this link here. Paula always cites her sources. And then she says, as you'll see in my book review, it was a fair use transformative work that also featured lots of Nicole Kessinger's interview I received from Weld County, as well as my thoughts and the Watts discovery, etc. I also included portions of the body cam video of the Watts neighbor stating she saw a gray truck the morning of August 13th, 2018. She states, thank you for all your kind words and support on this matter, and a warning for other YouTubers who are also creating reviews of this latest Cadle book. Be warned of threats coming your way. Well, there you go. I think Paula did a great job, and I think that if she is brought into court by Sherlyn, she'll be able to defend herself beautifully. As I say, I think it does make sense as to why we were hearing more about there possibly being more of the Nicole involvement as of late. Um, Probably in the last 2 months is where I had started hearing it. Um, what do you guys think? Did you guys see this? Did you guys see this coming? Like I say, I'll put the link to my Reverend Tabitha Jane. Oh my gosh, I just said that totally Midwestern. Tabitha. Um, I'll put that there and on my community page. So if you want to go back and kind of listen and see if you feel like the same things were missed in the biblical code that Watts was saying, see if you catch it. See if it's the same way that you were taught that the Bible said that about Gomer. Um, the comparison to Gomer is interesting. I think you'll like it. Um, and as you can see, Plunder always does what she prepares very, very well. So when she would talk about something, she would show her own because she went and she procured all of the Foyas, everything, everything in the beginning. And that's something that a lot of people learned how to do because of Plunder. That she has been a beacon of teaching and she sets a standard that's um admirable, that you can't find criticism on Plunder that doesn't boil down to somebody, just being jealous that she was first to come through with a lot of this. And, she's awesome. I think I don't know where the other I can't find I don't see what Sherilyn said some other things too, and let's see, I don't know if they're gonna be behind the paywall. Maybe they are, because Sherilyn said something like what in the hell, and instead of doing like the word hell. She put an apostrophe after the HE. So it's like the he ill. Like, so it shows she does not possess basic grammatical structure past the second or third grade herself. So her writing a book would be very difficult, which, in this day and age, you can do a book verbally and so you don't have to write or know how to type. There's a lot of ways around it, but it seems in the way that Sherilyn does this, um, it's very, very perplexing. We're just gonna do that. We're gonna say it's perplexing. And please check out the other creators that I said because, like I said, it's me. Kimberly videos are great. Plunder's amazing. Who else did I mention? I don't know. I think that's about it. I gotta go and put Boo Boo down for his nighttime nap. Um, before he starts, you know, doing his boo boo stuff. When he came flying for the Christmas tree yesterday, he looked like a freaking sugar glider. It was something else. He saw me trying to start the tree and just kind of fluffing out the branches and thought I needed help. And well, it didn't go great. That's all we're going to say about Boo. But, you know, it's okay. It's all right. Nothing was broken that can't be replaced. Kind of way that I look at things. So, thank you so much for listening, and check out my other thing too. And I hope that you're enjoying every moment of this beautiful holiday season. I know I am. I've got so much to do that I was going to shut down my channel entirely for the holiday season, and then I thought, maybe you guys need something to put you to sleep too. So I'll leave my videos up and I'll be able to pop in when I can, but I just get so busy this time of year. So if you guys are busy, just enjoy the sights and the sounds, and make sure to drive around and look at the Christmas lights. I love that, and I'm really trying to make it so that, they're not seen as Christmas lights, that they are holiday lights, and therefore they should be there for the whole entire holidays, and that means until, like, right after St. Patrick's Day, because I think the green can stay up, you know? Why not? And have some Valentine's Day lights, because I love the way that the lights look when there's snow around there. I really love the snow. People out here don't like the snow as much as I do. So every time it starts snowing, I do my snow dance. I tell people in the store to look outside, it's snowing, and they give me their dirty looks and side eyes. I'm like, you just don't appreciate the beauty of the season. But out here, when the wind gets so cold, you could actually see each little snowflake for each that they are. And snowflakes are actually super beautiful. They really are. They're exactly like, we were taught to make little snowflakes when we were kids. And I get to see that. So enjoy the beauty of each and every snowflake this season, my friends. And again, this was done under fair use. Check out the creators I mentioned and have yourself a great night. Thanks for being here with me. It means a lot. Thank you. Bye bye.